Good afternoon, Minister, and thank you for coming into the House today. The purpose of this bill is to extend the emergency provision contained in a number of pieces of emergency legislation enacted at the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. Without this extension, the emergency provisions would expire on the 9th of June 2021, and along with them the emergency powers to circumscribe the rights of individuals and impose penal sanctions on them. This legislation was enacted under the aegis of expedience, given the nature of the public health COVID emergency presented at the time. Since then, there have been consistent calls for an in-depth examination of the human rights implications these measures carry. Has the Government conducted any human rights proofing analysis? If not, there must be some extraordinary excusing circumstances, such as to render this analysis impracticable. The simple fact of the matter is that no such circumstances exist to preclude such an analysis. The truth is that the Government simply did not bother with human rights proofing, as if it was some unnecessary, insignificant or inconvenient matter. The result is that this bill is being hastily passed through the Oireachtas with mere lip service being paid to the human rights implications it will have. Déjà vu. How often must we be corralled into the same flawed parliamentary process that has distinct and troubling overtones of executive overreach? Those on the other side of the House can deny it, but their actions speak louder than their empty rhetoric. Apologies. The proposed bill essentially has the effect of allowing for a further extension period of 5 months to the 9th of November 2021 and to all emergency provisions, and will provide that they may be even then further extended by resolution of both houses of the Oireachtas for up to 3 months at a time. The open-endedness of this bill of allowing a further 3 months extension means that these measures may be permitted by law on a continual and potentially perpetual basis. This can no longer be said to be necessary or a proportionate response. To impose such measures where not necessary will result in a loss of trust in government, which is of great importance during a pandemic when such public trust in government is vital to ensure compliance with the public health advice. Therefore, I propose that the bill be amended to extend the emergency powers only until the 30th of September 2021. I propose to amend the sections as follows. Section 1 should instead provide that Part 3 continue in operation for a period beginning of the 10th day of June 2021 to the end of the 30th day of September 2021. While I recognise that the enactment of legislation to allow for these emergency powers was, in the past, arguably necessary, I can no longer accept an extension beyond the 30th of September. The extension of these powers, in the absence of a robust analysis and compelling evidence on the contrary, are not demonstrably necessary and, by virtue of that, disproportionate. Therefore, I philosophically object to the continuation of the harshest and longest COVID-19 measures across Europe and the curtailing of the fundamental rights of the citizen. Article 28 of the Constitution of Ireland only permits limitation on individual rights in times of war and armed rebellion. There is no express provision for limitations to be placed in times of public health emergency, such as COVID-19 pandemic. In absence of any express constitutional permission, legislation restricting the rights of the individual is subject to a requirement of necessity and proportionality as laid down by the courts in Heaney v Ireland. Additionally, under Article 15 of the European Convention of Human Rights, the measures limiting human rights must come within a permitted timeframe of human rights law. Under this framework, the Government is required to take measures only which are absolutely necessary. Each measure taken which restricts or limits a right must then satisfy a test of proportionality. The test being restriction must be necessary in a democratic society to meet a pressing need and must be proportionate to a legitimate aim to be achieved. The aim here being the prevention of the spread of the COVID-19 within the community, thereby preserving public health. Therefore, as it is required by such obligations under international law and the decisions of the Irish courts, a further restriction on individual rights through this proposed extension is subject to a requirement of proportionality, which I submit this exposed extension can no longer be satisfied. Minister, I also want to raise the issue today with regard to the rollout of the vaccines with pharmacies here in this country. We need to get the vaccines out quicker, and the pharmacies are there and ready and willing to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.